What's up, guys? Welcome to the Follow Me Show. You're here with your hosts,
Drew
and Dee Dee of Follow Me Realty. And for those of you who are just joining us, this podcast is all about the tips, tricks, do's, and don'ts of the modern real estate agent. So we're going to talk about a lot of things here. Everything from your online presence and social media to the negotiations and the closing table in real estate. And so we've got a really awesome podcast for you guys.
And we also have a blog, 3 Reasons to Fire Your Client. And a lot of these are in here. So kind of check it out. And it kind of puts you in the driver's seat.
And then on the 3 reasons to fire your client, it's on the buyer side, but this is debunking myths of the seller. But still, some of the same things apply. Like basically, your clients have to understand that you're the authority in the market and you've been around long enough. Even if it's only been a month, guys, don't let that fool you. You've been around long enough to understand where to find the information, to get the research or the experience that you have yourself.
Yeah, and if you're brand new, this is what you do.
This is what
you are the realtor. They are not. You're licensed. They are not. You've done your research in order to get where you are. They have not.
Exactly. And this is what you do for a living. So you're there to help them. And so basically debunking these myths as quickly as possible are really good things to do. So the first thing is I just want to say, for those of you, again, just joining us, you can check us out everywhere. You can see us on iTunes, on Instagram, followmerealty.me, on Twitter, followmerealty with just a T and not a TY. And you can find us on SoundCloud, YouTube. We really are everywhere, so check us out.
And our website, followmerealty.me.
Of course, followmerealty.me. So check us out, guys, and we'll be available really basically how we are right now with this podcast. So let's go ahead and get right to it. So this article that we're actually going to be, we are going to be given this information from is from a buddy of mine. His name is Xavier DEBUNKED, and he is a realtor in South Africa, actually. And he has a lot of great information. And this just goes to show you that the information that you get in real estate, whether you're in Orlando, Miami, or South Africa.
People are people.
People are people. Real estate is real estate. And people are still basically going to think of real estate generally the same anywhere you go. And it's basically 15 myths that you need to stop believing right now as a home seller. So what's the first one? Because you know what? I think I have another article pulled up from him.
It's the property selling price is set by the seller.
That is a common myth, that sellers believe they're the ones that are actually setting the price of the home, the list price, when in actuality, and just like the article says, it's actually the market that's determining the price. What are the average sale prices in the area? What homes have closed? That are the comps for that particular home, like within the area, whatever comparables are in the area. So if there's a house down the street with the same exact, let's say 3.2, it's the same 2,400 square feet, and they just sold the home for, I don't know, $290. You're not going to be able to then go sell your home for $390.
And you're going to find that a lot of sellers do have like an emotional attachment to their house. So they think their house is worth more than their neighbor's house, or the comps, up the street, the same 4.4, 200,000 square feet, whatever it is. They're going to think that their house is worth more simply because of the emotional attachment. Mm-hmm. So what's the next one?
Well, I want to just elaborate just a little bit on this. And the thing is, a lot of sellers, they're like, hey, well, listen, I was talking to so-and-so and they sold their home for this and their home is right down the street from ours. And I know that we can get the same amount. If their listing agent is selling it for this much, why can't ours? And we can definitely set the price. But the thing is, you just have to establish, first of all, you're giving your sellers a CMA to say, okay, so here's a situation. This is what we're working with. You're not going on active comps. You're going on sold and sometimes pending. And with the pending comps, the thing about that is what you want to try to do, if you can, is see if those pending listings have had their appraisal yet. Because you can do a little bit of research and digging and call the listing agent. And I've done this many times. I'm like, hey, listen, I've got a house that we're about to list, or I've got a house that we're going to put an offer on. I'm just curious, what did the house appraise for? And agents are pretty willing to give you the information, especially the more that you're working with those same people in the market. So it's one of those things that sellers just need to understand. And when you provide them with the information and say, listen, here are the comps, this is what you need to sell for. If they insist on selling for some god-awful price, then at that point you determine for yourself whether you want to keep the listing or not. I highly suggest never inflating or overinflating a price for a house just to maintain the listing, because it can go and bite you in the ass later.
Oh yeah, big time. And we've talked about that a lot in the past, where, you know, if it's an overpriced house and, you know, it's not a great listing, it's worth $20,000 less than it's listed, and it doesn't sell, you're going to get blamed, and it can really backfire on you.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, so that's the first myth, a very, very common myth. So the second myth is overpricing a home results in higher prices. So this just kind of elaborates on number one, which is a huge myth. So overpricing a home results in higher prices. That is not true. So this is what Xavier has to say about this. So he goes in to say, would you as a home buyer buy the first home you found online? I seriously doubt it. So you're going to see very quickly.
Unless you're me.
You just impulse buy.
I would definitely do that.
Well, I mean, if it's for you.
Hey, this is great. No more time's wasted. Let's do this.
Yes, and that's why you have a wife to say, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. So, and this is a really good point, because you aren't necessarily going to buy the first house that you see unless it has really like everything that you want, all the bells and whistles. It's not to say that it's not going to happen, but if you overprice a home, it's not going to necessarily result in the higher prices, because the majority of buyers are doing their shopping. They see what's happening in the market. And so if you have, let's say you have a house in a neighborhood that a buyer just has to be in this specific neighborhood, but there are also 4 other homes that have, like, you know, the same square footage. Maybe one of the homes is sitting on a lake. Maybe the other one has a pool. But for the most part, all of the amenities are the same within the same house. And let's say your home doesn't have any of those things, but you've priced it above all the other ones. Well, overpricing it is not going to mean that you're going to be able to sell it for, you know, for more. Because your buyers are smart, and so are the agents that are representing them. So they're going to do the comps and say, well, what's really making up a higher price? So, for instance, if your home, if you go and say, well, I have nicer countertops, it doesn't matter. That's not giving you any more value in the home. But if you have a pool, it might not by much, but a pool can increase a little bit of the value of the home. If you have more square footage or area footage, you know, if you have a little bit more acreage, that might. But if it's something like countertops, it's not going to give you more value in the home. And so the buyers know that because they're smart. They're doing the research.
Yeah, especially in today's day and age, you know, the internet's right there. Everyone has Zillow access and basic information to real estate.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot more research nowadays than, you know, you really even had access to just like 10 years ago.
Which is described in the ebook.
Exactly. Yeah, check that out. Home selling myth number 3. Overpricing a property leaves extra room for negotiation. And this is super common. This happens like all the time.
It's not like selling stuff on Craigslist.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
As far as the negotiation. I mean, negotiations are negotiations, but like as this guy alluded to, if you overprice, chances are you're not going to get yourself into a multiple offer situation, and then therefore you can't drive the price up. So it's actually not helping you as much as you would think.
And then you might try to start dropping the price faster than you really should have been dropping the price, and then everyone's going to wonder what's wrong with it. Oh, they're dropping the price pretty fast because, well, you shouldn't have overpriced to begin with. So, as Xavier says in this article, and we'll link the article below so that way you guys can take a look at this too. But basically, the whole thing is, he says, the basic premise of negotiating is having 2 parties present to hopefully arrive at a mutual agreeable outcome. Guess what? You're going to seriously struggle to get a serious second party to that negotiation table. And it's true, because if you are already starting with a really high price, a lot of people will probably do one of 2 things, or one of a few things. They'll say, well, we'll see if the price drops within the next few weeks, And guess what? They're also looking at other homes at the same time, so they'll probably go find something that's more within the lines of what they're looking for as far as price goes. And then it just makes more sense for what they're looking to do, and then you lose those potential buyers for one.
Well, and also if they are locked into that house and they're like, this is my house, and then they're just waiting for you to lower the price, and guess what? You lowered it, and they're right there, and they have a mental edge up on you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really true. That's true, because they're like, oh, okay, well then they, first of all,
it kind of says your situation.
Yeah.
When you're dropping prices.
Yeah.
So.
What I was going to say is, too, for the listing agent, for two, is that it shows that you probably didn't know what you were doing. So as much as you guys want to keep these listings because you're like, hey, well, I really like the commission. And it happens a lot. Don't be that
agent. It gets
agent.
me exposure.
Well, to be honest with you, I wish it would be more about it gets me exposure. If anything, it's more about, it seems anyway, well, I just really want this sale. I want to get this sale. I want to get this listing. And yeah, you're right. Like, it does give them exposure. But that's a horrible reason to take an overpriced listing, because your reputation as a listing agent is on the line. Just remember, guys, as a listing agent, you're going to deal with the same agents that are looking at your homes probably pretty often. So for instance, in Florida, there are a lot of subdivisions that you have the same realtor selling in constantly. And so you come across them all the time,
yep.
Right? So if you go
you'll
and
have
take
like 4 or 5 just so to paint a better picture.
Yeah.
You're gonna have 4 or 5 realtors dominating a particular zip code,
mm-hmm.
and then you'll have another 4 or 5 realtors in that zip code as well that maybe aren't dominating it, but
they're in there frequently.
Yeah, but they're they're right below.
Yeah.
So you're running into these people a lot.
Yeah.
Because the chances of you running to the same realtor again within a certain zip code is kind of high.
Yeah, and then your reputation is on the line. So let's say you're taking this overpriced listing. All of them know it's overpriced. They're going to circle you like sharks for one, because they're going to go, why are you selling it for that much? Now, I will say this. I did have not a listing. Let me backtrack. I had a buyer that there was a home that was seriously overpriced, and all the realtors in the neighborhood
This
knew.
is the Great White Buffalo, guys.
Great White Buffalo.
So if you ever watched Hot Tub Time Machine, this is the Great White Buffalo.
And
she's
I pulled
that chick
it off.
that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
She comes around literally almost like a mermaid. She's a 10.
Freaking unicorn.
Yeah, unicorn.
Yeah.
I don't need to describe it. You get what I'm saying.
So, okay. there was this house from a team that was very popular within the community. So Dee Dee had a unicorn. I had a unicorn. But this was the perfect pairing. And I'll tell you guys, this is, again, it's a unicorn. It's an anomaly. It's the Great White Buffalo. This house was overpriced. There's no other way to put it. It was seriously overpriced. It was gorgeous. It was very clean, very, very clean. And any realtor in the state of Florida knows that the cleaner a home is, sometimes, honestly, that can supersede in the neighborhood that it's in. That can supersede
especially in Florida because of all the new subdivisions.
And everybody wants new, the new, the cookie cutter.
I think that applies even more to Florida.
This home was about $15,000 over what it probably should have been listed at. And it was in a time where it wasn't necessarily a seller's market. It was coming into a seller's market.
Yeah, but it was still more of a buyer's market. There's still
it was about April.
Yeah, there was still a lot more inventory.
Yeah, and so this is what happened. I had a buyer that was cash, and she didn't care about the appraised value. She didn't care how much the home was. It was more important that she was in that specific neighborhood with this specific criteria. She waited over a year for this criteria to show up. And so that ended up driving the market price up. And the home sold for $190,000. I had about 10 different realtors calling me. First of all, they were shocked at the fact that the home sold for $190,000 because this was a 2-2 townhome in an area that 2-2 1,100 square foot townhomes are not supposed to sell for that much. So I had like 10 realtors either texting or calling saying, how the hell did you do that? How the hell did you do that? So now on the listing agent side, if that listing agent would have listed it for $190,000 and no one was biting, then it would have kind of made them look dumb, which is why this myth makes sense. Like, hey, you don't want to overprice to see it, drive up the market, right? But then what ended up happening on the other end is the buyer actually took, and she didn't care. She wasn't getting an appraisal. It was cash. It closed in 2 weeks. So she just wanted the house.
So pretty much, so the buyer situation was this. And if you might come across a few great white buffaloes in your lifetime.
Great white buffalo.
Not too many. But this one had she obviously had money. Mm-hmm. Price was an issue. Right. She actually went as far to say, "Hey, listen, I will overpay for something."
She didn't care. She didn't care about the price.
Yeah.
She cared about what she needed.
Yeah. So.
And it did ascend in that situation. In that specific situation, it did temporarily drive up the market within that area. It wasn't on purpose. She just knew what she wanted. And essentially, there are two reasons why you have a value, or two different types of value in a home. You have the appraised value, the market value, etc., all of that. And then you have the emotional value. And so sometimes that emotional value is going to supersede the actual appraised value. It is what it is. It happens. And so I just happened to get, I don't know if I would say lucky, but I happened to get in a situation where I was able to provide her what she wanted, and she didn't care about that price. She cared that the home was so fantastically ready to move in. She didn't have to do anything.
She wanted a specific bedroom. She wanted it to be on the corner.
She was retired. Her husband was sick, and she just wanted something she could move in. Yeah, and it was right on the corner. She didn't care. And the sellers repaired the one repair that was needed. So she didn't care about anything else. So again, all the realtors were laughing, for one thing, at the listing agent, secretly, behind his back at first, until the home actually sold for that much. And everyone started to panic. They're like, how did you do that? And honestly, I kind of looked like this, how could you get your buyer to do that? And some agents were even offended.
Yep.
They were pretty offended because they're like, do you feel like you ripped her off? And I'm like, I'm not going to answer that. But inside, I'm thinking, of course I didn't rip her off. It's what she wanted.
Mind your damn business.
Mind your business. She was my client. And so who do you think she's going to come back to when she needs a house? It's going to be me. And so that's what mattered to me, because I got her what she needed, not because everyone else thought it should be something different. So yes, I know that's myth number 3, and typically that doesn't happen, but that is an anomaly.
Okay, so moving on to myth 4. This is the longer the market time, the better the offers. And let me quote this guy, because this is really good. He says, wow, if the agent is able to bring me an offer within a few days of marketing my house, how can you imagine how high the offer will be in a month's time? So that's child logic. That is...
Or they say, we're not in a hurry. A better offer will come along. We only need that one buyer. Does any of this sound familiar? Is what Xavier says. And yes.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty familiar.
So, this is kid logic, right? Hey, 1 + 1 = 2. Hey, if I work out like Arnold Schwarzenegger and I eat like this guy, I'll look like this person. That doesn't quite work out like that. That's not necessarily...
Well, I think that's a bad analogy, because when it comes to working out, sometimes it actually does.
You get what I'm saying.
Emulate the greats.
So, this is actually... all depending on the market. It all depends on the market, what you're going to do in this situation.
As Xavier points out in this article, he says this, and it is very true. The reality of the matter is that the longer a property sits on the market, the more likely lower offers will come in. And it's true, because at that point...
Break it down, boss.
Here's the thing.
Break it down.
At this point, the buyers are like, okay, so it's sitting on the market for a while, so they're probably desperate for some offers. So we're going to go ahead and start going in lower. Now, the first things first.
That's when the psychological edge comes in too.
Yes.
And it's such a mental game. But anyway, go ahead.
No, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because most of these myths, guys, that we're going to go over, quite honestly, it boils down to one thing. It's psychology. Real estate is very much a psychological game that you play between one another, and sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And at the end of the day,
you want to win more than you lose.
You do want to win more than you lose, but you want to do it the right way. So if you're doing it just because you want to win, then that's dumb. And so unfortunately, a lot of sellers, the way that they think is that it's just this whole thing about, well, okay, case in point. My house has been on the market for 5 days and I already have a few showings. Oh, well, that's really awesome. Then they get an offer. Oh, well, if I've got an offer this early, then that means there are going to be a flood of offers coming in soon. So I'm going to sit and wait. So instead of logically thinking, okay, what's this offer? Is it what I want? Is it what I want to walk away with? Am I going into another house? Am I going to break even? I think you should not discount the initial offers that come in, because quite honestly, it's not to say that you need to necessarily take less, but approach it the same way from day 1 to day 60 is what I'm trying to say. And so it's not necessarily the case that just because you're getting a few offers in the beginning that you're going to get a whole bunch more in later just because so many people are biting. To be honest with you, the less time that a home is on the market, the better for you, because like it says here in myth number, what is this? Myth
4.
Like it says in myth number 4, it actually couldn't be farther from the truth. The longer the home sits in the market, the less money people want to offer you for the house because they think you're going to take it. So, just be smart about it as a seller. And listing agents, guys, just inform your sellers of how the market works by listening to this podcast and then going away with a lot of awesome information. So, okay, myth number 5.
And this is kind of elaborating on the last one too. So myth number 5 is a quick offer means the property is priced too low.
This is a very, very, very common myth that unfortunately too many sellers believe. So no, that's not necessarily what it means. It means, to be honest with you, if anything, it means number 1, it could mean a number of things. It could mean that you're in a seller's market. It could also mean that for the buyers, it is exactly what they needed. And quite honestly, the easiest answer for the majority of you guys as sellers is going to be that number 1, your home has been on the market for a very few amount of days, which means for the buyer and their perspective, they want to strike while the iron is hot. And so if the home hasn't been sitting that long, they're like, okay, good, let me get it before everybody else jumps on it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the home is priced too low. If anything, more than anything, it means that the buyer really wants to go ahead and get it wrapped up before somebody else takes advantage of this amazing home.
100%. I mean, if it's priced too high, then they're not going to come. If it's priced too low, they're going to come anyway, but just because it's an early offer, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's too low. And you're going to know it's not too low because you're the real estate professional and you've done the CMA, the comps, and all that.
Agent.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So.
Well, and like Xavier says here, and I love the point that he makes, he says that hot buyers, people that have been actively looking for homes, they've been scanning.
When the deal's hot, it's hot.
When it's hot, it's hot, as the great Dan Pena says. So he says this: hot buyers have been scanning available properties on the market nonstop, and this is like a game for them, kind of like how for realtors, the MLS is a game. We're like always looking for the new listings. Honestly, like you could stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning looking at the MLS. It's kind of like
it's so
like
addictive.
Gambling.
Yeah.
It's very addictive, right? Well, the same goes for buyers. They've been scanning available properties in the market non-stop for the past few weeks or months until something comes along that suits their needs. And it's true. And so when a good new listing comes up, they're all over it. So don't necessarily think that your home has been priced too low. That's why your agent has done the CMA. Mm-hmm. That's why they've done the research for you, and you've been doing your research yourself as well. And so it's a common misconception, but it is a myth. So now it is debunked. Congratulations. You're welcome.
Okay, so number 6 is the home selling myth. No, I'm sorry.
Real estate agents don't purposely overprice properties. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't like this one, and I didn't really want to cover it last night. Drew and I were talking about it, and I said, that's bullshit. How could he talk about real estate agents like that? But, when I sat and thought about it, it's true. So this is what the myth is talking about. The real estate agent, I'm quoting Xavier here. The real estate agent who gives the highest listing price believes in my property the most. So that's a myth that he's quoting, right? Or sellers are saying this: well, after all, the longer it takes the real estate agent to sell the home, the longer it'll be before he gets paid, right? Well, we all know that the first 3 to 4 weeks of marketing out of the gate are the most crucial when selling a property. And I'm going to actually say something to this. The first 7 days are the most crucial.
Yeah, you've always said that. You've always said the first week
days
is the most crucial.
That's when you want to do an open house. That's when you want to start doing your massive email campaigns. Actually, before you even list it, you want to start doing that. So this is what Xavier says. And again, I'm going to really quote him on this one because I couldn't say it better than Xavier did. So let's not forget that you only have one chance to make a first impression. Real estate agents are in dire need of new business. Or rather, let me rephrase. The real estate agents that are in dire need of new business will start pricing properties higher during their interviews than what they actually are in order to secure the mandate. Is it shocking? Sure, but unfortunately it happens all the time. Now,
well, I disagree.
Why?
Well, you said that the realtors only have one shot, one time to make a first impression, correct?
He's saying that you only have one chance to make that first impression. I
disagree.
Why is that?
Doctor Strange. He has the time loop.
Why do you always have to quote Marvel? This is real estate.
I'm joking.
Anyway.
I'm joking.
So, regardless of whether you have one shot or not, what really kind of struck a nerve with me is when he said this. It's true, but you would really want to think that real estate agents don't do this, when unfortunately they do. Real estate agents in dire need of new business will start pricing properties higher during their interviews than what they actually are in order to secure the mandate. So I'm going to tell you guys this from personal experience.
So they'll play off of the emotion of the buyer. I'm sorry.
Of the seller.
Of the seller. The seller will be like, oh, this is great.
But I know my home is worth $10,000 more than this.
Look at this statue here, and doesn't this look like South America?
And my friend over here definitely said that their home.
You are so right. Your house is worth $400,000. As a matter of fact, let's go and list it. It should sell no problem.
Yeah, and the thing is, the reason why a lot of listing agents will do this is because, like we talked about previously, they want to secure the listing. They want to be able to say, okay, yes, I'm absolutely the person for it, and they're afraid of the seller saying, no, we're not going to use you. So the thing is, again, and I'm going to reiterate this, you have to, at that point, when a seller is either refusing or you're just kind of caving just because you have no spine, don't be the agent that has no spine. Don't be a chicken shit. Grab your balls and say, hey, listen, this is the situation. This is what the home can sell at based on the comps. And if you want to list it for above, then fine. If you want to take the listing, take the listing. But tell your seller, hey, be prepared that it might not move very much. It's very simple.
We're going to go at it full force with our marketing.
Yeah.
We're going to go at it full force. But hey, if it doesn't move, it doesn't move. If it
Don't
moves,
say I didn't warn you.
If it moves, I owe you a martini.
You tell them, hey, don't say I didn't warn you. You want to list it for this? You can list your home for whatever you want to list it for. However, if it doesn't move, you cannot say I didn't warn you. Now, again, if you want to be the agent who takes it, fine. But what this myth is talking about is agents that say, oh, yeah, absolutely. They're the yes woman. They're the yes man who says, absolutely, this house will definitely sell for this. You don't want to be that person. Because first of all, like we talk about a lot, your reputation is on the line. Is if you're saying that it can list for this much and it doesn't move, how does that make you look in the eyes of not only the seller, but everyone else that is like, what makes you think you could put this home on the market for this much? And you're going to get those agents who ask you that. You will absolutely get agents who will ask you that. So anyway, I didn't like initially this myth because I said agents don't do that. That's not true. That doesn't happen. And then I realized, yeah, you're full of shit because I never did that. But I realized that, you know what, that's true. Agents do that. I've actually lost listings from that to say, hey, listen, your home is not gonna sell for this much. I remember one specifically, and she was a double because she not only wanted to buy a house, but she wanted to list her house. And I told her, hey, listen, you're not gonna sell your house for this much. It would probably be right along the lines of this. And she was so adamant about the house. And to be honest with you, I think the reason why she said that is because she didn't want to pull the fucking trigger and then buy another house.
Yeah, exactly.
So ultimately it didn't work with her. But, it does happen in real estate. And I'm sad to say that a lot of agents actually will do that. They'll overinflate a price because they don't want to lose the listing of the buyer. So it is what it is. All right.
Okay, so number 9 is...
Are we on... We're not on 9. We're on 7.
No.
Yes. Home selling myth number 7. The real estate agent with the lowest commission will net the seller more.
Myth number 7.
Along the lines of the previous home selling myth, selecting the right real estate agent will be positively correlated to a successful marketing campaign and ensuing home sale. If the going commission rate is 6%, why would anyone be willing to work for a 3% commission? Will the home seller score out of this lower commission cost? And this is what Xavier says. Perhaps. This is a huge pet peeve of ours. So Xavier says this: it might come at a cost elsewhere, and I couldn't agree more. So I'm going to revisit this myth. It says the real estate agent with the lowest commission will net the seller more. That's not true. That's just simply not true. Because typically what happens, and I don't even need to read the article to tell you this, typically what happens is the real estate agent that will lower themselves to 3% instead of 6%, when you lower the amount of money, you lower your energy, your time, and your resources at the same time. And understandably so. And you might not even be doing it intentionally, but if you know you're only getting 3% for a sale, do you really think you're going to work as hard as the home that you're listing for 6%? No. Hell no. You're not going to. And so that's what this is talking about. So how quickly is that listing agent going to be able to jump on the calls to work for you? Probably not as quickly.
Because they're getting underpaid and overworked.
Exactly. And they're going to begrudgingly, like we've talked about before, do the deal.
And also look at it like this way too. Let's say that you're a seller's agent, right? Now, I'm not saying to do this, but it is very possible, and I know it happens, a lot of agents will do this. They'll look at, let's say your client, you're a seller's agent. Your client has 10 homes lined up, and you're looking through the homes, and you're like, 1% commission. I will not show that to my client, and you'll skip over the house, make some excuse not to show that particular house.
Is it right for the buyer? No. But does it happen? Absolutely. It happens all the time. Yeah. Because if you see a home where you're only making 1% commission on it as a buyer's agent, you're like, first of all, there are a lot of things that go through your head. First is, okay, well, they definitely don't value the commission for the buyer's agent very much so. So why do I need to work very hard for this, right? And then for 2, it's because they're probably thinking, wow, you really don't respect yourself enough in the industry to earn the commission for what it is. It's not an auction property. It's an existing home. Why the hell would you take less? Or they're thinking, okay, so you're just taking more commission and you're giving us 1%. Either way, it doesn't look good.
Don't sell yourself short. You are working. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
You got to live. You got to make money.
Home selling myth number 8. You completely depend on online evaluations. I'm going to sum this up really quick. A Zestimate is not a CMA. Really, really easy. Guys, I love Zillow so much. I love my buddy Stu from Zillow. He's our guy. He's the person that is the go-to person to ask any questions you have about Zillow and lead generation and marketing and impressions, all of that good stuff. But when it comes to having an evaluation done on your home, or a valuation done on your home rather, do not go for Zillow. And I know a lot of buyers and sellers are going to see this and say, but the Zestimate said this. Okay, that's fine. I understand you think that's what it is. But I'm here now to tell you, if you're listening to this, you know you cannot rely on a Zestimate, not because it's not necessarily accurate in some markets, but simply because it is not a comparative market analysis. Zestimates may not be keeping up with the market trends of the specific area that you're in.
They don't. Zillow doesn't keep up with market trends as much as they need to.
Exactly. So there might be a Zestimate, again, and probably quite a few that are accurate. But the thing is, in an area like Florida, I would never rely on a Zestimate, only because the market fluctuates so rapidly. And so you can't even go back 180 days for your CMAs. You actually should be doing like 90 to 60 days, just depending on what kind of market you're in as an agent. So don't rely on anything except for the CMA that your agent is giving you, period. Home selling myth number 9. The house sells itself. So this is what Xavier has to say about this. Quoting the seller, "This is a gorgeous house, so I'm sure those interested buyers, once those interested buyers start viewing it, will be getting offers in no time. The house pretty much sells itself." Wrong. No.
That's
You were thinking that?
Exactly. Yeah.
We're here right
Boom.
now. Yeah, okay, so no. It couldn't be farther from the truth. Guys, when you are a listing agent, you are marketing the fuck out of that house.
Whether it sells or doesn't sell, you are marketing that motherfucker.
Doesn't matter what you do. If you take on that listing, you assume full responsibility for that listing. It's on your Instagram. It's on your Twitter. It's on your blog. You're talking about it with everybody that you run into. It's on your LinkedIn. Again, it's on your blog. It's on your email. You're doing an open house. You're letting everybody know about this amazing house. It's fantastic. Wonderful house. Tell everyone you know, whether it's listed or not, or it's a pre-listing. Everyone knows about this home everywhere you are. That home is. It doesn't always sell itself. The online presence is huge for any home that you have for a reason. Drew, you're with marketing. You know all about this. Tell us a little bit why that matters with a listing.
Oh, it's very simple. Omnipresence. Mm-hmm. Be everywhere, all the time, 24/7. And in today's technology, you can obviously do that. Because if people don't know the house exists, how the fuck are they going to buy it from you? And it's your responsibility as an agent to get that house exposed to as many people on the planet as you can.
Yeah.
Period. Whether they're buying a house or not buying a house. They might know someone that's buying a house. They might decide, hey, you know what? We should move. Let's buy a house. Doesn't matter. Get that shit exposed.
Yep. Exposure is going to be your number one asset. And when you're using a listing agent, that's one of the most valuable things that they can provide for you. Because, first of all, your real estate agent should have a huge online presence. Now, of course, it's great to have a local presence. Of course. You should be known with the other realtors and industry professionals, going to networking events, knowing your community, your church, and all of that stuff. It's really great. But to be honest with you guys, when it comes to homes in Florida, and just in general in 2017, I mean, homes are sold throughout the world every single day. So, but in Florida, you have a lot of people that are tourists. They come in and they see, let's say, the Disney area or East Orlando. They really love the cookie cutterness of celebration. So there are a lot of areas that there are a lot of people coming in from Brazil, from China, that want exactly the look that your home provides. But the MLS only goes but so far. And so that's where you take over and you start promoting that listing everywhere you can. And if people are Googling you, what are they going to find about you as an agent? The same goes for the listing. How many places are they going to find it? And chances are the agent before you, if the home is an existing home, they probably didn't market the home the way you can.
Didn't do shit.
Yeah. And so that's one of the huge benefits, number one, of being with Follow Me Realty, because we're going to help you do that, right? We're going to show you how to do it. But just in general, no matter what state you're in, guys, you want to promote your listing. The home will not always sell itself, which actually leads us to number 10. Selling a home for sale by owner saves money. Oh, my goodness.
Wrong.
How do I even start this one? Okay.
Well, this is a whole nother...
This is another podcast.
Yeah.
It does. Okay, you know what? Will it save you money? It's all...
It will help you lose money.
It will help you lose money. That's the best way to put it. If you list a home for sale by owner... Now, I'm not talking about those people that are licensed real estate agents that are selling their own home.
Because you're a realtor.
Yeah, because you're a realtor, so you already know what to do, right? And even then, honestly... Like, I might be a wedding planner, but I'm not going to plan my own wedding. It's kind of like that sense. It's a really good thing to have somebody to just, even if you know the ins and outs of the market, if you have someone else who can take the headache off, because when it's your own home, it's emotional. It's subjective. It's something that you don't necessarily, you're too close to it, is what I'm trying to say. You don't want to be too emotionally involved. So negotiations might get you a little bit butthurt when it really shouldn't be.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. That's true.
So for sale by
How
owner.
can this guy not like my counters? What the
How
fuck is
dare
wrong with
they?
that?
I just spent $1,200 on new granite and they don't like it and blah, blah, blah.
What's
Guys,
wrong with my pink wallpaper?
for sale by owner, will it save you money? It's going to cause you a lot more headaches than save you money. There are going to be a lot of things as a for sale by owner. You might not know the protocol. And so just depending again on what your level of experience and knowledge in real estate, it might end up costing you a lot more than the money that you quote unquote save. Period. That's another podcast.
Yeah, and this next one is one of my favorites because we talk about this a lot. And it is myth number 11. And it says, open houses sell houses. And we say this: they do not sell houses. You do the open house for who? For yourself. You're marketing yourself. You're marketing your brand. You're also marketing the house. But opening houses, they don't correlate directly to a sale.
Okay, I'm going to say this. I agree with you to a certain extent. The physical time that you spend at an open house as the agent who is hosting the open house, will it actually sell the home? Probably not. And according to Xavier, well, actually, according to the National Association of Realtors, only 2% of the homes were sold. Hey, don't you diss on my NAR.
Joking,
you leave them alone.
Joking.
So only 2% of homes were sold thanks to an open house. Well, I think that they're probably referring more than anything to the physical people that walked into that open house.
Yeah, like a direct sale.
Yeah, a direct sale. But honestly, guys, I like open house events. And it's not so much because of the people that walk in. Not your floor leads is the best way for me to say it. Not the people that walk into the house. But because of the marketing.
Yeah, it gives you a chance to expose it and market it more.
You can expose
it's a really,
not just
it's an
yourself with
assisted
the
sale.
listing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like exactly.
It's a hockey assist.
Yeah, so you're exposing the home, you're exposing the market even again. So you're saying, hey, remember this home? I'm here. Hey, remember me? Hey, remember me? Hey, remember me? You just saw me on Twitter. You also saw me on Instagram. You also saw this home on Pinterest. Hey, remember me? You saw me on Zillow. It's just another place to get the home out there. The more exposure the home has, the better. So it's not necessarily that the people that walk in say, oh, wow, I just happened to stumble across this home. I really like it. Let's go ahead and close on this deal.
It's bloody shocking.
It's not necessarily that. It's more the exposure that you get for the house. So, yeah, I agree with you there. It's not necessarily the open house that sells it, but the open house does give you marketing as a buyer's agent. Home selling myth number 12. Unusual marketing leads to higher prices.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused on this one too. So let me see. I'm not convinced the property portals or MLS will give our property enough exposure. Why don't you advertise in some of the National Home Leisure magazines? Depending on the price level of the property being marketed, there might be quite a difference in the marketing plans, which I agree. Where the luxury properties will have more tools available, such as drone or video footage, true, official PR release across international media or even TV coverage. However, some home sellers do wrongly assume all of the properties will be enjoying that type of marketing exposure. That is so true. Now I understand. Okay, so the vast majority of homes will be covered by a substantial marketing plan, which is what we were just talking about, right? Okay, which will suffice in getting plenty of traffic for some interesting home buyers.
Okay, so
let's talk about price points.
No. Let me write this down. So,
yes.
So you need exposure. Okay, so whether you're selling a trailer park home or whether you're selling a castle in Europe, you need exposure. Okay, now the specific marketing and how you market will be different, is what he's saying. However, it's still the same principles. It's still the same philosophy. Massive amounts of exposure.
When it comes to a home that's like a lakefront home, yeah, you're gonna spend a lot more money on the marketing from the drone video. Yeah. So that's going to be a little bit different. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the price point. So let's say you're selling a $2 million home. Your commission, if you're getting 3% on the listing side, is $60,000. Can you afford to go pay for an aerial drone for $2,000? Of course. because that's a part of the marketing. But if it's a, like
trailer
Drew
park
said,
home
a manufactured
in Bithlo.
home in Bithlo for $115,000, are you going to do the same thing? No.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you can't get the same amount of
Yeah,
exposure.
so kind of school them a little. Basically, okay, so if you're working with $200,000 homes, you're probably not going to have a video walkthrough. You're probably just going to have pictures or a drone. But you as the agent know that, so kind of teach them. Okay, for this kind of home, we have to do such and such marketing. For this kind of home, we have to do such and such marketing. But guess what? Exposure is key, whether it's a castle or a trailer park home.
Home selling myth number 13. Home improvements pay for themselves. And so what does this mean? Basically, it's like this. You get a seller that says something along the lines of this, and this is what Xavier is quoting. Whatever money spent on home improvements will definitely increase the value of the house by as much or more, right? And guys, it's really important. Like, let's say you have a long-term seller and they're asking you, well, okay, so I know this is going to definitely increase the value. Let them know before they do the improvements, because a lot of people are under this assumption that however much money, exactly, in fact, how much money they put into improvement is how much value increases on the home. And we might think it's laughable because we've been in the business and we know that's not true, but a lot of people really still think that, and that's not the case.
So improvements don't mean all that much. It might help you sell the house quicker, for sure. As far as value,
So this is something that's interesting that is quoted in this article. Xavier says this: so unless you have no intentions of selling your property anytime soon, be very careful before you start with those big home improvement projects, as they may not bear the ROI fruit you'd hope for. So if you plan on doing any improvements in your home with the intention of getting the return on that investment, just do your research a little bit before you start putting a lot of money into that. So, all right, home selling myth number 14. A home doesn't need to be prepped for sale.
Wow.
What?
How is that even a myth?
That shouldn't even be a myth. That's
shouldn't
just
be
a
on this
sad thing that somebody would think that doesn't want to put the time in for their
Moving
home.
on.
Listen, guys, it needs to
Yeah.
be prepped. Enough said. All right, home selling myth number 15. The best time to sell a house is during the summer. I don't know if I will agree that this is a myth. Well, let's see what Xavier has to say, and then let's figure it out. Okay, so this is a quote from a supposed seller. Can't we wait until summer before selling our home? And this is Xavier's response on the article. Is there even such a thing as the best time to sell a house? So this is what Xavier says. I think I have quite a few opinions on this one, being that it is the last one too.
Why
All
not?
right.
Why not?
Yes, even though spring and summer periods tend to be the most popular times to put the property on the market, statistics, indicate that pretty much selling a home in any season will get the job done. I don't know if he's ever been to Florida. I don't know about that. So this says your agent will know the particulars of the respective market and adjusting his marketing plan depending on the current season. Guys, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if I agree with this one, because
summer is absolutely the best time to sell your home.
Okay, let's say this. I'm gonna paint a scenario for you. For anyone who knows Central Florida, close your eyes, relax, and think of this scenario. You live in Lake Nona, specifically 32827. You have a home right in Water's Edge. Gorgeous community. Fantastic area. Your home has been renovated as much as it could be renovated. You have quartz countertops. Will it affect the value? No. Will it affect the demand? Absolutely. So stay with me. You have an indoor pool, screened in. All the screens are perfect. No tears. You have tile floors throughout that look like hardwood. Ooh, beautiful. Okay?
We're getting somewhere now.
Cathedral ceilings. All of the paint looks as fresh as the day it was put on. And you have all of these things. And you have 4 comps around the area. And your home is the absolute best compared to all of them. and it is November. Will your home sell? Yes, it will. Will you get a multiple offer situation in 32827, Water's Edge? Most likely. Oh, and it's about 3,000 square feet. Gorgeous, gorgeous home. Again, it's a buyer's market. Will it sell fast? You probably will get a highest and best situation with this scenario I'm painting. Now, you have an average home. You don't really keep up with it. And it's a buyer's market. Will the home sell? Eventually. Will you get highest and best? Probably not. So you have to take into consideration, what does your home look like? Seller's market is kind of like a free-for-all and say, all right, who's biting? And there'll be a lot of people who are going to come out. It's very simple. When it comes to the buyer's market, it all depends on what your home looks like. So yeah, I think that market has a lot to do with it. It all depends on what you have to offer with that home. But if you don't really have a lot to offer when it comes to a seller's market in Florida, yeah, between like April, and it starts to get earlier and earlier, but like between April and August, those are the best times for you to sell. It just depends on where you are. So for instance, this author, this realtor that we're quoting is in South Africa. So it may be a little bit different there. But here in Florida, it matters which market you're in. It really does. It just depends on your home. And you guys, the more experience that you have, and for any of you seasoned realtors, you know that this is true. You'll start to see the fluctuations of the market, and you'll start to pay attention to the market trends. But at the end of the day, it's your job to educate your sellers on what the typical processes are of the market, of real estate, and how to sell that home effectively, and just being the best damn realtor that you can be for them. So that's it. Thank you guys very much for checking us out today and joining us on episode 14 of the Follow Me Show. We really hope that you enjoyed this very thorough take on a seller and the myths that we have plowed through today. And we hope that you check us out again, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Boom.